Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host Cheryl Hentz, and with me are two old and dear friends. I say that because they've been on this show so many times, and I never get tired of having them, and they are from the local Humane Society, and of course if you watch this show frequently or you know me, you know that animals and their welfare is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So with that said, to my left is Joni Geiger. Joni is the executive director of the Oshkosh Area Humane Society for 25 years.
Yeah.
I just asked, and she said 25 years.
Yeah,
a quarter of a century she's been leading the charge there. And right behind her, at what did we decide? Was it 23 years?
23.
Is Cheryl Rosenthal. And Cheryl, I have to read this because I can never
long.
remember it. You are the communications and education coordinator. You are also the cat consultant at the shelter, and this is something new, supporting member of IAABC, which stands for International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants.
Yes.
When did you get that accreditation?
Well, I am a supporting member.
Member.
And so what that is, this is an international organization for animal consultants. And because I do the cat consultations for the shelter, it's another resource for me to have.
Okay.
I mean, if you have, if we have somebody come up with a question and I don't have the answer, I can go to that organization and put it out there, and I have many behaviorists that will respond to my question.
Very good.
And so it's a great resource, and it also helps to confirm that I really do know what I know.
There you go. It solidifies it.
Right,
in
and
case
they have
there was
a
ever any
fabulous
doubt.
newsletter, and it's for, of course, I belong to the cat section of that, but they also have dogs, horses, birds.
Wow.
So it's a
I'm going to
very
have to
cool
check them out.
organization.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check
And
them
they
out.
offer classes and teach you, if you want to become an accredited animal. I never say that I am an animal behaviorist. I am a consultant.
Okay.
If you are a behaviorist, you have to have so many
Credit
credits,
hours or whatever.
credited hours, and
Okay.
you have to pass some tests and those types of things. So, so being a supporting member has been very rewarding and very helpful, because even though I belong to the cat section of it, I have the option of, if we have a dog or another animal and we don't have an answer, again, I can just go through them and say, hey, I've got this question. Anybody have any ideas? And you get it from all over the world, from behaviorists from all over. It's really interesting.
And that's a good resource to have, really, for anyone. So, well, very good. Well, thank you for sharing that. So the first thing we want to talk about, and I want to thank you guys again for being here, because typically we have you on before your annual walk for the animals.
Yes.
And this year, I don't know what's happened. It's a good thing, and yet it's a bad thing. People are crawling out of the woodwork and saying, can we come on the show?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, sure, I'll book them. And before you know it, I'm like, oh my God, I've forgotten about the shelter.
Yeah.
And there's another guest that happened to too. And then I had someone 2 weekends ago reach out and say, I've got this coming up. Can I get on the show? And I'm like, I'm booking into February and March now.
Yeah.
You were so popular.
So as soon as we have our date, I guess we should call you and say, we need to be on there, 4 or 5 weeks before, or whatever it would be.
Yeah. Well, and one of my goals is for the new year to really get a handle on this, put down the things that I'd like to do annually or semi-annual, and that way I've got it on there.
That's very nice.
Anyway, I apologize that we didn't get to do it, but it was a wonderful event anyway.
And you were there.
I was.
So you can attest to it firsthand.
I can attest to it. I did not walk, but for the second year in a row, I had a table or a booth there for our animal ministries group from First Congregational Church, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, because we're doing something that is going to benefit the shelter, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about how much money was raised, because it was a really impressive amount.
we were so thrilled with the result. The walk was really one of our best that we've had. So we were at 56. So we were extraordinarily
56,000.
Yes, 56. Thank you, 56,000. And what was our goal?
Our goal was 52.
52. So we were just thrilled to exceed that. We still have some donations coming in, which is kind of great too. So it was just a beautiful day. We had a lot of walkers. We had a lot of people participate. Everybody had a great time. It really was a great walk.
Yeah,
It was hot though. That was the one drawback. It was really hot.
And the mosquitoes were bad.
Who would have thought? You know, like
I know.
mosquitoes, like
Well, they
with all the
wanted
rain
they
we
wanted
had.
to come to the animal walk anyway. So
Yeah.
you know,
That
but
was
they
it.
were
Maybe for the mosquitoes, it was a blood drive.
it could have been, but they were unwelcome at any rate. I mean,
Right.
I got bit up so badly,
terrible.
but
it was just terrible.
yeah. In fact, I was going to tell how I knew this person, but I've recently spoken to someone who actually, because their yard mosquitoes are so bad everywhere, when they have their landscaper come in and do some work in their yard, they actually have it sprayed
Oh, wow.
for mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And when I went to their house on a animal rescue thing, it was like heaven. I mean,
Oh,
there
no
were
mosquitoes
no
at all?
mosquitoes
Yeah.
anywhere.
So it really works.
I don't know how often you have to do it, but yeah, I didn't care for the mosquitoes. That is no fault of the Oshkosh Area Humane
No,
Society.
we did not
So-
invite them. They did,
No,
you
they
know.
were, and they didn't give either. So.
No, they
Yeah, they
didn't.
didn't make any donation. They took. They took
They did.
blood from people.
Right,
That's what they
right.
did. So, so now the money that you raised, $56,211 at that time, and as you said,
Yes.
Joni, there's more still coming in.
Yeah.
And that goes into your medical fund.
Yes.
Tell
which
us
is-
what you do with that.
The medical fund is really just it's the fund that really kind of helps everybody. We find that over 90% of the animals that come through our shelter need some kind of medical treatment of some sort. So we just can't be without it. I mean, it's incredibly important, and we find that. Sheltering is changing a little bit, and we're seeing more elderly animals come in, and sometimes animals that have health issues that people cannot address simply because of the income. So that medical fund just is constantly being used, and so to raise that kind of money to help us with that is just amazing. I mean, that's over half. It's a little less than half.
Less than half of what
little
we
less than
actually
half,
use.
but it's so necessary and just so important.
And like Joni said, 90% of the animals need something. So it can be something as easy as clearing up an ear infection, or they've never had their vaccinations. I mean, every animal that comes in gets their vaccinations.
Sure.
And dogs are tested for heartworm, cats are tested for feline leukemia, and so it's a constant. And it isn't like, oh, well, you don't look like you need this. We just, if we don't know for sure, we do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
We do
Have
it.
to address it,
It's a safeguard, and it's also to safeguard the animals that are already there, like Bordetella for the dogs. That's not just to safeguard the dog that's coming in; it's to safeguard the dogs that are
All of
already
them
there.
that are
So it's a big
it's
a big
it's
chunk
very-
of what
yeah,
we do,
and it's-
and
and
that
it's-
has nothing to do. And I think it's important that we make the distinction there. That has nothing to do with the Cuddles Fund, or
Right.
this is just basic medical care.
Yeah.
Anything that's over and above that comes out of a different fund. This is just the basic medical fund for the
Sure.
everyday things that we need to do for animals when they come
Sure.
in.
Well, since you brought up the Cuddles Fund, why don't we just talk about that a little bit? Because that's something that was developed years ago. I think I was still on your board of directors when
yes, you were.
when that
Yeah.
was created.
Right.
And the Cuddles Fund was created because of a cat that came in.
No, a
and
dog.
Nope, dog.
Dog?
Yep, little dog that was thrown over our 6-foot fence. Cuddles.
Okay, that's right. Little white dog, right?
Yep, little white
Okay,
dog.
now it's coming back to me.
Yep.
Maybe I just thought it was a cat. I don't know.
Well,
my
but-
memory is not the
But
best
Cheryl,
sometimes.
we have had in the past, over the years, since the Cuddles Fund was established, we've had other animals
Yes.
that come in that we have promoted them as in need of the Cuddles Fund money. And so that we've had I guess you could call them
Bernice, the burn kitty,
secondary advocates for the Cuddles Fund, because it's never ending.
Because Cuddles was in very bad shape.
She had a broken pelvis.
Shattered.
Yeah, it was shattered. It took many, many months of recovery for her. Then we had Bernice, who was the cat that came in with third-degree burns over the majority of her body. You know, so sometimes through the years we have had, you know, other animals that have helped to replenish that Cuddles Fund, so that more and more animals, and those are medical expenses that are over and above the basic medical care.
Yeah.
The long-term care.
Sure. And
that
more
some
of a
of these
catastrophic type of, because it really does, as Cheryl says, it's long-term, and it becomes, you know, the expenses become, you know, quite high. And so having that fund, being able to help those animals is extremely important, and we're really proud that our community supports that. We really are.
We are fortunate to live in a community, and you know, I don't know that we're unique. I think that most people, wherever they are, have, at least in this country, have a very soft spot in their heart for an animal. I mean,
I would agree.
you know,
Well,
and when there's a need, and you put out there that there's a need, and you guys routinely do this, which I compliment you and praise you for, because you don't want it draining your other funds, because
and
then
it
you're
can.
really in big trouble.
Yeah.
So you routinely put out the need, the call for help, that you've got a situation, you explain the situation, you show the picture of the animal involved, and people step up.
They do. They respond.
Very quickly.
Yep.
In
They
some
respond.
cases.
I agree.
And I can think of one, I don't know how much medical care he or she needed, but it was the dog that was involved in the car train accident right around, or maybe on New Year's Eve of just like 10 or so months ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, I know he survived. She, okay.
We're having gender issues. That's okay.
The
dog. We'll just say the dog.
The dog.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at least I can laugh about it, you know, right? I don't take myself too seriously. But so the dog survived, thankfully, and amazingly.
Amazingly. That never should have happened, but it just was an incredible.
Yeah. How long did you have the dog at the shelter? Did it need extensive or above and beyond typical repair?
Yeah, she was at the referral center for weeks and weeks.
And the referral center, not to interrupt, but the referral center is the emergency clinic, and they do a lot of specialty type stuff.
And
so
she needed to be there simply because it was very, very touch and go for her. And again, just as you know, we put it out there, and people rallied around it, and it was just an amazing outpouring of people who wanted to help her. So it was pretty cool.
Right, and then she went into foster
care
for several months.
For several months, and she had to have physical therapy. She had to have swim therapy. I mean, it was an extremely long process, and she came through. I mean, she does have a little bit of a limp, and you know, she does, but she did beautifully, and through it all, she was an amazing personality. She just, you know, she would kiss your hand and love you up and wiggle and just be
give you kisses,
all gooey, you know. So
and is she now in a permanent home?
She did get adopted out, and it's interesting that you should bring this up, because unfortunately there was a situation where they were no longer able to keep her. That was not through any fault of their own, or certainly of hers as well. But so Elsa will be becoming available for adoption again.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just recently happened within days.
Okay.
Oh.
So when this show starts airing next week, and we are currently taping on October 4th of 2018. Hard to believe it's October already. I don't know where this year has gone. But in any event, so do you think by like next week or mid-October?
Yeah. She absolutely, yeah. We're going to fast track her right back up, because she's a lovely dog, and she deserves to find that home. And as I said, and I think this is kind of an interesting, obviously the story is interesting, but the fact that she gets a second chance, I mean, that doesn't, there's no reflection on the people or on Elsa for that matter. I mean, it just wasn't the right match.
Right. Circumstances change.
Yeah, they do.
Well,
and they're through no fault of anyone else.
And sometimes you don't know these things until you get the dog home.
That's true.
Or cat, and you see how it is fitting in with your household, your lifestyle. Sure. You guys, just like any rescue or shelter, try to do the very best job, but none of us, because I work in this, I'm a volunteer, none of us has a crystal ball that we can gaze into and say, this is going to work out 100% beautifully.
I guarantee it,
Right.
Usually it does.
Yeah.
But there are occasions, and this is one of them. Yeah. So, Elsa, I remember the old Doctari TV series?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't there an Elsa in that series?
Yeah, there was.
So, see, I can't remember.
You're really going
dating myself here, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what sex Cuddles was, but I can remember Doctari and Elsa.
Yeah. She's good.
Yeah, well, in some ways. Now, let's talk about this for a little bit, because I know people are out there and they're saying, why spend, you talk about physical therapy, you talk about swim therapy, why all that money and time for a dog? They don't think like we do, and most people I don't think would think that. But there are some people who do. So,
and I think just to acknowledge that is that simply you're not going to. Not everybody is necessarily going to agree in the direction that you might go in, and I certainly can respect that. I don't have an issue with that at all. But the point is that the value, as we talked about, is that our animals for us do have value, and the fact that cost certainly is a factor, but because people stepped up and allowed us to do that,
right.
That was what made the difference. Cheryl mentioned before, as an organization alone, we never would have been able to financially afford something like that. But because the public rallied around and the public said, we want you to do this, we did it.
Yeah.
And why doesn't she deserve? I mean, it wasn't anything that she did.
Right.
She wasn't, she was a victim.
Yeah.
And so why not?
Yeah.
No.
And again, because the referral center had really good expectations, and her being such a good patient, her having an awesome temperament, why not?
Yeah. Well, that again is a testament to not just her, but this community.
Sure,
Right.
I agree.
It is.
How they step up.
It definitely is.
And you folks, and
we
the
do
work
what
you
they
do.
want us. We try to do what they want us to do.
Right.
Well, and it's a testament to what you all do and the referral center. We're all in this to help save animals.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Cheryl, the truth of the matter is, any animal shelter anywhere, they cannot provide services that their community will not support.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the community also can't support you if they don't know what programs you're interested in providing. So it's kind of a two-way street.
Sure.
And because we put that information out there, it's very obvious that our community likes what we're doing and encourages us to continue doing those types of works.
Sure. Well, you're currently conducting a For the Love of Murphy campaign. So what is For the Love of Murphy? What's this all about?
This is really exciting for us because this is going to allow us to get a transport vehicle. I don't want to call it our current van, because the van that we had, which just literally died.
The day of the walk.
The day of the walk.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I turned the corner to go to the walk, and here's Carrie sitting in the van, kind of at an angle as she turned the corner. And I said, "What is going on?" And she said, "It died."
Yeah.
And it literally
Brakes
And
went out, everything. I mean, it was just really, it was
Wow.
just a horrible experience. So the love of Murphy, for the love of Murphy, we had an anonymous donor come forward. She had a Basenji that originally belonged to her mom, and she called it her brother. And her mom passed, and she was so in love with that dog, and she managed to continue the care for the dog in her mom's home all that time until Murphy finally passed. And that dog was truly cherished as a family member. And she came forward and said, I want to do something in memory of Murphy. And she said, I'd like to do a match campaign for $10,000. And she said, what do you need? And I said, we need a new transport vehicle really bad. And she said, that's great, that's wonderful. What a wonderful way to honor him. And so she stepped forward, and it's a match program up to $10,000, which is extraordinarily exciting. We put it out October 1st, and and we've had great response so far, and I think it's highly likely that we'll be able to purchase a brand new vehicle, which will be wonderful, because we use a transport vehicle for so many different things. I mean, it literally is a lifesaver. I mean, certainly we're out there picking up strays when we're being called and asked for, but we use it for transporting animals in from other shelters. We've done wings of rescue prior to this, where we've gone down to airports and we've picked up animals that were transported in from Texas, and all those kinds of things. So it is just so exciting to have a reliable vehicle.
Right, or when we're called out by the police department or the fire department when there's an accident, we're transporting animals to veterinary visits.
Yeah.
I mean,
every day it's getting worse. Every day.
It's hard. It's difficult to ask your staff, well, you have to use your own vehicle.
Yeah.
So having a reliable vehicle, or to think of somebody picking up an animal from an accident scene, and then you're trying to transport it back to the shelter
In the back of a car seat.
and
Yeah.
and the van dies.
Yeah.
And there you're stranded. So then who do you call?
Yeah.
So it really it's putting staff and animals
Yes.
in jeopardy.
It truly is, and it's a wonderful gift that this person gave, and we're just thrilled.
Sure.
We're just thrilled.
So when do you think that you guys will be able to get this van?
We're hoping by the end of the month. I'm really excited about it. We're hoping by the end of the month, because currently we're not, like Cheryl says, people are using their personal vehicles, and we're just, fingers crossed, obviously, that we don't have like a large undertaking that we have to have a vehicle. But we've had people step forward and said, you could use mine. But we really are hoping by the end of the month. We hope that this campaign is so successful.
It goes through the end of the month.
Yeah,
the campaign
through
does.
The 21st, actually. So that would be very exciting for us to be able to purchase that, and because as everyone knows, vehicles are not cheap. So
yeah, and does this have to be outfitted in any special sort of way to accommodate animals, or is it just a regular van?
It's very similar to just a regular cargo van. We actually wanted the back end to be more of a shell-like thing, simply because depending on how many animals you have to transport, it's so much easier to do that when you have an open space.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you just put the crates, just
Yeah.
shove them right
And
in. You can stack them if necessary.
You can stack them if we necessary.
A special flooring, or a rubber flooring, so that once you have animals in there, they're not sliding all around. It has to be something that's going to be easy to clean.
Sure.
But they have other, tools that they have to put in there. So sometimes on the side there's like a side rack to put like a catch bowl or a net, or some of the things that they use to, to secure an animal.
Well, good. So if you've got a little extra money, it doesn't have to be a lot.
Nope.
Just, pennies, dollars, they all add up.
It all adds up for the Love of Murphy.
For the Love of Murphy campaign. And you can go on their website. It's oahs.org. oahs.org. It's on your screen right now. And you can make your donation right there from their website.
If they click on the banner, the For the Love of Murphy banner. They click on that, it takes you right to the donation page. You can make your donation right on that page.
And it's all a secure donation. You don't have to worry about
It's a secure website.
Yep, which is what it should be.
And thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because
that's
people
awesome.
get, even when you say it's secure, there are some people, I know some myself, that just say, no, I'm not doing anything online. And yet their credit cards, it's funny, their credit cards can be lifted, the information lifted, if someone's sitting in a parking lot and they're walking past.
It's true.
So this is not just about secure websites.
Or they can stop by and give us cash. We'll take that too.
Of course.
So,
That's right. That's
call
right.
us up. We'll pick it up. Yeah.
We'll pick it up.
All right. There's a new adoption venue, and Joni, you just sent this over to me today, so I don't know anything about this, but it's called Pooches in the Park.
Well, we just had our first one on September 22nd,
Okay.
and we did something that was a little bit different because we had some long-termer dogs that have been there for quite some time, and as you can well imagine, dogs behind a barrier, a cage, it's frustrating for them, and sometimes they don't show their best, and we always try to share with people, it's a different dog when you get them outside and that type of thing, and so and these dogs have been there for quite some time, and we just thought, how else can we showcase them, because they're such wonderful dogs.
Right. We get to know them, they get to know us, so we're not seeing the dog that the visitors see.
Yes.
Because, it's kind of like, if people would think about it, it's stranger danger. Who are you coming into this place?
Right.
The dogs get all excited when they see the dog walkers or the people that feed them every day. But then a stranger comes in and it's like, well, I don't know you. Who are you? And they get rambunctious, and that oftentimes will put people off. But if they could just visit with this animal outside their kennel, they would see a totally, totally different dog. And so what a great way for us to utilize the exercise area that we have. We have our own dog park. I believe it's just a little under an acre. And to set something up where the dogs were stationed at we had little canopies like we used at the walk, and we had different stations for different dogs, and volunteers and staff people that have been working with these dogs and know these dogs the best are the ones who showed them.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wonderful.
It was such a upbeat, beautiful event. We just had a great turnout. We had a lot of people come and visit, and they got to see, as Cheryl said, they got to see dogs in this natural setting. Dogs were wonderful. We actually got 6 adoptions from it, so we were thrilled.
Oh, that's great.
And these were long-term dogs. I mean, we're talking dogs that were there for several months. So this was a win-win all the way around. And we realized that this is just something that we really need to do a little bit more often. And there was just such a camaraderie built around it, because obviously anytime you do something that positive and dogs find homes, that just makes it all worthwhile.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
it was a wonderful event. I was very excited about it.
And you talk about long-term dogs. I mean, you can take the very best dog in the world, and if they're in a shelter for too long, it starts to wear on their personality.
Sure. Yeah.
And you can have a personality change to the point where, and I remember this very clearly from many years ago with a particular dog, and it was a male. I remember that one. That one is for sure. And he eventually had to be put down because he was not adoptable.
Yeah.
He had been there for so long.
Yeah. It's this kennel stress that is just, it is not a natural environment for dogs, obviously, to live in a shelter environment. As hard as everybody tries, volunteer staff, enrichment, all the different programs that you do, but the truth of the matter is that dogs don't, long-term, just don't do well in a shelter environment. So, having this other tool available to us that now we can showcase dogs a little bit differently is really exciting for us. So
now if we could only figure out how to do it in the winter.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. You're going to have to probably shelf this now until maybe, I don't know, maybe April, but look what happened to us this past April.
Yeah.
So, you never
point.
know. You may have to shelf it until May.
Yeah. Oh,
and when
gosh.
you think about it, that's a long time from September, which is when you guys did this, to May. I mean, you're talking 8 months.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's something that we wish we would have, obviously utilized sooner, but, the fact that we know now that we have another way to showcase our dogs and market some of the dogs that are having a little bit more difficulty staying with us.
Sure. Maybe you can find an indoor facility.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Somebody who has
somewhat-
like a pole building. I mean,
Oh, that's a great idea.
Somebody who has a
Always
pole
trying to
building
think.
that doesn't
Right.
have a lot of, maybe they have some storage in there, but a large enough space that we could just set up with, 6, 7 dogs for
That's a
an
great
afternoon.
idea.
So
That way you don't have to shelve it for 6 months.
Yes,
because
right.
5-6
Yeah.
months is a long time to go
It's a
without
long time to
doing
go.
anything,
Yeah,
especially if
yeah.
you've got dogs that have been there for a while. Life release rate, that was something that you guys had wanted to talk about, and I don't think I've heard that expression or that term before.
Yeah, it's something actually that's been around for a while. Shelters, it's probably a shelter term more than it is anything, but they call it a live release rate, and we talk about our life-saving mission and how important that is to us. But basically, it's a very simple equation. It says that for everything that comes into your shelter environment, what actually leaves alive.
Okay.
So that's why they talk it live release.
Oh, okay.
So that's what they're talking about, and we've always tried to set ourselves to do better and be better, and we value the animals and of course their lives, and we try to do a lot of things with behavior, but so we have seen our live release rate increase every year, and we hit 97% this year. Right. So we're very proud of that.
What was the percent, Joni?
97%.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think when we started in 2009, it was 74%.
Yes.
So we always have had a high live release rate compared to
the national
average. But to be at 97%, that's pretty cool.
That is fantastic.
It's pretty cool. And and I'm going to say this, that because the 3%, we don't want to forget about them as well. But there are times when simply animals might be unsafe, and we're not going to put animals like that out into the public. And then obviously from health reasons as well, there are some animals simply that you can't help.
Right, and again, because of the stress, it would be unfair for those animals who cannot be placed to live the remainder of their lives trapped in a cage.
It's quality of life.
Yeah.
Quality of life.
Yeah.
We abide by the 5 freedoms, and that's what we look
We
at.
feel very strongly about that, yeah.
Okay,
So.
good. We've talked about this before, but I think it bears repeating only because the audience changes. People may move into the community and have not heard about some of the work that you guys do, or they may not know this particular thing. And others may have heard it, but it didn't resonate with them. But I think it does bear repeating that people in this community may not be aware of the fact that the city, while you are a local humane society, animal shelter, the city really does not support you guys with a whole lot of money.
No, they pay. We have a contractual fee that we get from them for taking in stray animals. So, and that is really only about 9% of our budget. It's something that helps, but it certainly doesn't go the distance.
No.
Yeah.
And what is your annual budget?
We are at 1.2 million.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's what I say every day.
As she runs around turning off lights.
Yeah.
So you're really getting probably about 80 or 90,000 from them per year?
You're good.
Math was never my strong suit, but that one I was able to figure out.
Yeah, it's right around 82 right now.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, boy, I was close,
Yeah, you
wasn't
were.
I? Holy cow. Okay, I should go into accounting now, I guess, 'cause I got my figures right. And I think, when you really think about that, $1.2 million, that's a staggering amount of money.
It is.
And yet, when I look at 82,000 coming from the city, that's a big amount of money, too, for strays.
Sure.
How many strays do you guys take in a year, approximately?
We take in about 50, I think it's around 50, I have to look at my numbers, but I think it's around 55% of our entire population that comes through. So I don't have the actual numbers right there, but I can tell you that we're at about 2,400 animals total. So whatever mathematician girl.
Yeah, I can't.
Whatever
figure this one out. I
55%.
can't figure this
So
one out.
I apologize. I don't have it at the tip of my tongue, and I should know that.
But that's a lot. So 55% of your animals, or thereabouts, are coming in as strays.
Yep.
And does that include surrenders, owner surrenders?
No,
That is
owner
just
surrenders are
strays.
totally different. Yeah, this
Totally
is strays.
different.
And strays very often are redeemed by owners, particularly in the case of dogs. So we do see about 40% of dogs that come through, the owners do come in. Cats has been increasing over the years. We've seen, the national average, sadly, is about 2% of cats are
2%
redeemed.
of cats are redeemed when they
Sadly,
come in as
yes.
strays?
And we're at
Wow.
about 13%. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah, it is.
What is it that you guys are doing different that people are
We have a stray
reclaiming?
page.
Yeah, we have a
we
Facebook
post
page
them
that
right
is
on
devoted.
a page, and so people, if they're missing their pet, they can immediately go right to that page, which is just it has really been for a lot of people. It's been a godsend, and because people like us, if our animals were missing, we'd be frantic. We'd be absolutely frantic.
Right.
So to know that they're safe is really important.
It is.
Right, and promoting that people, not only, okay, they're on the stray page, but I believe also on the stray page, it talks about contact the Oshkosh Area Humane Society and file a lost report. Call Lost Dogs of Wisconsin or whatever.
We give people a lot of
you know,
resources.
So
Yeah.
that people know how to look for their pet and how to, get the word out right away.
I'm glad you mentioned Lost Dogs of Wisconsin, and yes, by all means, if you live in the city, file a loss report with the local shelter. But Lost Dogs of Wisconsin is a tremendous resource. They, if a dog goes missing, you let them know. You send them a picture or pictures. I've seen different pictures on one page, but they will put together a flyer that you can then photocopy and distribute to wherever you want to distribute it to. And this is a free thing that they do.
Right.
Right.
They too work off of donations and probably grant money, but and then you can kind of stay up to date on their Lost Dogs of Wisconsin Facebook feed, I think it is.
Right, and
Right.
the nice thing too is that they educate people on how to capture a animal. A lot of people unfortunately chase or
Right.
So there's really an art to
Yeah,
catching an
I'm
animal.
going to catch the dog, so I'm going to chase it, and all they do is push it further and make them more
So
afraid.
yeah, they do. It's a wonderful service. It really is. They've saved a lot of dogs'
Yeah.
lives simply because
Right.
they've been able to post it, and they do it so quickly.
They do, yep. Yeah. And I had an experience with them earlier this year when a rescue group that I volunteer with had a golden retriever
Oh, yes.
that went missing. And that dog was on the run for 9 days.
Oh my goodness.
But we got him.
Good.
So
Good.
in March, no less.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that March.
So-
too.
yeah.
Yeah, it was before the huge snowfall,
Yeah.
of course.
Thank
but
God.
he was from the South. He was from Puerto Rico, and he wasn't familiar with
Yep.
our
So
climate, our
territory, yep.
terrain,
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
So, or our language.
Yeah. True,
the dog
right, yeah.
understood Spanish.
Yeah.
He didn't understand
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there were a lot of things working against him, but we got him back. And,
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
in no small part due to the wonderful work of Lost
Yeah.
Dogs of
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
And again, that's another thing that we do. We are a resource.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard, if somebody calls and says, I've lost my dog or I've lost my cat, we'll connect them with all those different resources.
Well, I called Joni about this one, and you gave me some good ideas.
Yep.
And that was one of the ways that we used to catch him. It
Good.
took 9 days, but we got him.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing that they just simply do not want to get caught? You're trying. You think like, I'm trying to help you. Well, how come you're not
But
getting
they're
this?
probably
yeah,
so fearful.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just
It's like I don't know who to trust.
yeah.
So I'm going
Yeah.
to trust no one.
And
Yep.
hopefully found a wonderful home.
I'm not sure. I think he might still be in a foster home.
Oh, okay.
Or he may have been I don't know. I kind of lost track of him.
Yeah, yeah.
So many things start going
Sure,
on. And,
sure.
But he is a wonderful dog no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether he's
And
still
again,
in a foster home.
deserves that,
Right.
special, attention to, get him off the
Yep.
street.
A lot of animals have been brought up by different rescue groups and shelters from the Puerto Rico area,
Sure.
because of the hurricanes and
Yep.
and so forth that happened down there. And you'd think that we would have enough on our plates and to fill the shelters and the rescue groups with dogs in this country, but it's you got to save the animals where they are,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're not always in your own backyard. Sometimes you have to go to other places to
That's
get animals.
absolutely true.
Right.
So, and while we're talking about lost dogs, I cannot, and I know these two lovely women will back me up on this, I cannot stress enough to not only have an ID tag on your dog or cat, but to have your pet microchipped.
I agree.
If tags, sometimes dogs or cats will slip out of a collar. Well, there goes the ID tag,
Yep.
and then what? But shelters and veterinary offices, they can scan. And I think, don't you guys
That's true.
typically, when
We
you
have
get
a-
one in, you scan right
Every
away?
Right,
time.
we have a universal
Every time.
scanner.
Yep.
And that's so important for people to understand. If you find a pet, take that pet to a veterinarian or call a shelter and have it scanned. I think a lot of people, this dog,
They just assume,
they must
yeah.
have been abandoned because they're not wearing a collar. And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I gave the dog a bath and then I took his collar off to give him a bath and he got out without his collar.
Right.
Yep.
So,
So microchip is really important. I agree with you.
It is another ticket for your pet to get home.
That's right.
Right.
It's another ticket to
And
get
then
home.
also keeping that information up to date, whether you have
Yes.
a tag or a microchip. People are so mobile these days. They're moving. They've changed their phone number. You've got to update those chips and anything that, if they have a tag. We've seen it happen at the shelter. We have a dog that comes in with a microchip, and the microchip takes us to
Yes.
South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And we call that person and they go, I gave that dog away 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to update those things to help that animal find
That's
its way
right.
home.
Keep it updated. And I'll tell you a little thing about me, and this is not to pat myself on the back, but I'm a planner. I'm always thinking ahead. I'm always thinking about the worst possible scenario and how that can perhaps be avoided. So like when we take trips, I put together, before we go, I know this sounds corny or maybe morbid, but I put together lost dog sheets
Cool.
with my dogs.
Cool.
I have one for each dog. I have what their name is, if they're afraid of you, if they will run from you.
Wow.
I put that all on there. I put that there's a reward being offered. And I put not just our cell numbers, but the cell number of the pet sitter that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
Right.
staying with.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
that's who's watching them.
Yeah.
We may be, typically we stay around in the country, but sometimes we do cruise, and you
Right.
can't get a
Right.
call necessarily
Yeah.
when you're out of the country.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
or if you travel with your pet, like we go camping, and
Mm-hmm.
we always have all of their information, all of their vet records, all that stuff with us, so that if something happens, if an emergency happens, and we have to take them to the vet or they get lost, we have a picture of them.
Yeah.
We have all that information with us.
Yeah.
That's
See?
got to give you great peace of mind when you go on vacation, actually.
It does.
To know that,
Yeah.
okay, worst case scenario, but at least you're prepared for that.
Yeah,
Right.
and it is peace of mind for us, really, because not only is the guy who's watching our dogs a dear friend, and always watches our dogs when we're gone. In fact, he takes his vacation when we take ours, so that
So
he
you can watch your
yes,
dogs. Oh my gosh.
and so I just love him. We've been friends for over 50 years, and it just works out
That's so
beautifully.
cool.
Yeah, there is peace of mind there.
Yeah.
And that's you
that
have
really-
to think
Well,
ahead.
That really is good planning,
You
though.
would make arrangements for your children if
Yep,
you were going
that's
away.
absolutely true. Yep.
So
Yep.
any living thing that you have, you need to make those plan
Yep.
ahead, make those
Yeah.
arrangements for
Yeah.
them.
Great idea, though.
I want to talk about your Pet Food Pantry and how we at my church are helping with this, and how folks watching or listening to this on the radio can help with this. So tell us what your Pet Food Pantry is.
You know, this is just the Pet Food Pantry is really for people who are in a situation where they simply do not have enough money to purchase dog or cat food, or even small mammal food, because we do that too. And just because people are in this temporary situation does not mean that they don't love their pet. Right. And I just want to make that so clear, because we see people, I mean, we see things that come through the shelter, and how people, and they're grateful. They're so grateful, you know, and it basically, there is no, people can come in, and if they need it, and we just ask them how many pets they have. Yep. And sizes, simply because, you know, if you got a large dog as compared to a small dog, and they're going to get food. Mm-hmm. And
at no cost.
At no cost. And this is strictly, and this is something that you in fact, this is the young lady here that started it all. You know, you're the one that really well, you helped to build it up and really kind of create it.
Well,
yes, it was your church.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I thought you guys maybe had a food pantry.
We had a food pantry.
The food pantry was the result of the dog that passed away.
Right.
That was starved to death.
Yes.
Okay. And we made the decision at that time that we never wanted to have another dog die because the owner could not have food. And it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
You overextend yourself, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I've got more month left at the end of the check than. Yeah. And you just need that temporary boost, and we don't want their pet.
Nope.
That pet is in a loving home. Mm-hmm. If somebody is willing to come and ask for food, I think that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Because
I need food.
I'm sure that they are embarrassed about having to do that.
And you can't just give them, well, here's enough for a week.
Yeah.
You know, we don't do that.
And, you know, this really became a problem, more so, I think, when the economy started to go bad in like around 2008, 2009, 2007, when people were really hit hard financially. And
there was a lot of
shelters were seeing people surrendering their pets.
Incredible.
It was, I don't want to say it was escalating, but it was a big increase in surrenders, owner surrenders.
I mean, do you feed your kids? You feed your animals. Well, of course,
or yourself.
Exactly.
And the Humane Society of the United States started something called the Fill the Bowl campaign.
Right.
And,
I remember that.
you know, trying to get people to make donations to it that would then go to their local shelters. And so at First Congregational Church, where I'm a member, we started doing this in conjunction with our Pet Blessing Service, which is always the first Saturday of every month. And in fact, it's in 2 days from now.
Oh, yeah.
So we have been doing now for the second year in a row, we've done a Fill the Bowl giving tree. So we put up a Christmas tree in our narthex, and we had little cutouts of a bone or a mouse or whatever, and we would hang those paper ornaments on a tree, and on the back of them there would be something that you guys needed from your shelter.
Yeah.
Whether it was dog food or paper towels or whatever the case may be. And so people would take an ornament, and then they would bring us whatever ornament they had gotten. So we will have to talk after the show and figure out how to get some of this stuff to you. But that's what we've been doing. So
that's wonderful.
We've got supplies, and I suspect some money coming your way.
You guys actually were the ones, though, that did give us the boost to be able to keep that pantry going and moving. And, you know, I never forgot that, because that was pretty cool. And it was nice to see community rally around community.
Right.
I mean, it was a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you. I had no idea that we helped boost that thing and get it
boost it. I mean, because we were, you know, it was.
The
we
donations
did the best.
would kind of trickle in.
Yeah, but
to have another organization
that was the
is supporting
key there.
that.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the first year that we did it, the Humane Society of the United States, their magazine, All Animals, did an article on us. Yes, they did an article on that. And as a result of that, we got two different people. One who was a woman on the East Coast who sent a check for $200 for you guys. And another woman from Minnesota who dropped off. She drove to Wisconsin and dropped off all those bags of dog food.
That.
Yeah,
and so it, you know.
See, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it's incredible that people would go to those kinds of lengths. But I mean, it happens. People care.
Yeah. People do care.
People care.
You know, we're all suckers for animals.
Right? Yeah, we are indeed, aren't we?
And we're going to do what we need to do to help them. Want to talk before our time is up. I've got so many other things, but the Fix is in, a traveling mobile spay and neuter van.
Right. Yes. This is very exciting for us. This is something that we just started this year in July, and we started a partnership with the Fix is in, which is, you said it, is a mobile spay and neuter van. And what they do, and you can go right to their website, which is thefixesin.org, and people can sign up, but they can get their cats altered at a discounted price, $55, $40 for an outdoor cat. As we all know, I mean, just the sheer volume of cats and, you know, being out there, you know, we need to get a handle on these kinds of things. And we talked about sometimes people just not being able to afford some of these things that are related to their pets. And this is a wonderful way that people can do this at a very reasonable cost. And so all they have to do is go to that website and sign up. And we have 3 dates coming up, and we have 2 days consecutively, and of course those are October 12th and 13th. That is going to be November 19th and 20th, and December 7th and 8th. So certainly encourage people, you know, watching, listening to the program, that, you know, they should go ahead and do that. Because
And that's the dates that they are going to be right at our Humane Society.
They park right in the parking lot.
Yeah,
wow,
it's so cool.
Yeah,
but it's just for cats.
And it's just, and they actually do take dogs at different locations. So they are in other areas as well that are easy enough to drive to.
Okay. So if you're watching or listening, it's The Fix is in. THEFIX as in xylophone, ISIN.org. thefixisin.org.
Right. And it's also on our website. Right when they go to our homepage, on the right-hand side column, there's a little icon with their logo, The Fix is in, and if you click on that, it'll take you right to them. They do all the booking of all of the surgeries that are scheduled. We're the parking lot.
Yep.
We're the parking lot. And they use our education room or the community room. They use that to sit down with the people that are bringing their pets in. And the veterinarian, I believe, comes in and talks to them, tells them exactly what's going to transpire, how long your animal's going to be here, when you can come back and pick them up. And so it's very easy for people to take advantage of this.
And it's the same day.
Yeah, same day. You drop them off in the morning or whatever
you
time they tell you, and you pick them up that night.
Okay, that sounds good. So there was a time when you guys were transporting dogs and cats to, or maybe it was just dogs, to either Milwaukee or Madison, I believe, for spay and neuter purposes.
Yeah, that's the Madison. Yes, we were.
Is that over? Have you ended that relationship?
Well, we did end that relationship. We found that we were not. It simply, we had a lot of hiccups in that program that. You know, we just weren't able to straighten out, and so we wanted to have an alternative for people, simply because we know how important it is to alter animals. So that's why the Fix is in, and we were able to actually reach out to them, and they graciously had agreed to come and, as Cheryl said, come to our parking lot.
And it really takes the pressure off of our staff, because with the other program, we had a lot of staff that were involved, and volunteers had to be helping to coordinate that. And this is just so nice because the Fix is in just takes care of everything. And
they're very self-sufficient.
Yeah. Sure. And I think that's important. And then the people who are having their animals altered or whatever, they have that connection. You know, it has nothing to do with us other than, like I said, the
We house
parking
it,
lot
yeah.
and the use of the room.
Sure. Okay.
So
Well, and spaying and neutering, I mean, I think we do a fairly good job here,
We do.
but in the South, you guys have brought animals up from the South. So many of the rescue groups that I have heard of or personally volunteer with are bringing animals up from the South. They're not coming from Michigan or Illinois
Nope.
or
Nope.
Minnesota. They're coming from Texas. They're coming from parts of Georgia. They're coming from Alabama. You know, all southern area
Yeah.
states.
Yeah,
Right.
it's incredible. I don't think, you know, the Midwest has done a beautiful job as far as like altering animals, but it is incredible the sheer volume of dogs that are in these states, and that unfortunately, if they are not helped, the shelters are full. Euthanasia is just, it's, you know, it's unfortunate. But
It's a daily
It
occurrence.
is a daily occurrence. It's
Right.
And
there's
in
just
some,
not enough resources.
Well, and I will say this, not to be really graphic, but there are so many in some of these shelters. I don't even like calling them shelters.
Yeah.
They're pounds,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, they're holding areas.
Because they're not sheltering a dog or a cat from anything. And if you're given 5 days or 7 days, 10 days, whatever it is, if your time is up, you're right, Joni, they're euthanized.
just
and in some
euthanized.
cases, they have so many that there are places in the South that still use gas chambers
Yep,
because they're doing so many all at once. And it is an horrific thing to witness or even hear.
Yes, yes.
So,
And,
you know,
and is it not hard to believe in this day and age that practice still continues?
Yeah.
It's just
It's acceptable.
It's horrible. I mean, it's just and animals should not be dying. Not with resources that are available and things that are happening and you know, and fortunately there are people that are rallying again and helping out and you know, making difference for those animals. And then of course the key is again to spay and neuter
Right, and
these
it's
animals. So
education.
simple.
There's still those myths out there that, oh, I don't want to have my dog neutered because he's not going to hunt, or he's not going to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
can't be trained, or won't be a guard dog, or you know, they forget about the pluses, that your dog's going to live a longer, healthier life and be less likely to get certain kinds of cancer. You know, the plus side of that, it's an investment in your pet. And let's face it, all three of us sitting at this table loves dogs, cats, puppies, and kittens.
Yep.
But none of us want to think about them never finding a home.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is what's happening.
well, and
There's not enough
dogs and
homes.
cats that are, dogs in particular, that are in pet stores that still sell,
Oh.
those dogs are coming
puppy
from puppy
mills.
mills, and that needs to be stopped. And even the backyard breeders who are just wanting to have 1 or 2 litters, that needs to stop too, because they're not doing it right, and all they're doing is taking homes away from animals that are already here. So that practice needs to stop. And on that note, I'm being told I need to stop because our time is up. So, God, I had a whole list of questions on the second page yet.
This happens every single
I
time.
know.
We're going to have to put it on the calendar that Joni and Cheryl get 2 shows.
That's right. I will promise you that right now. I'll make that promise. So,
That's
guys,
wonderful.
thanks so much. It's
Oh, thank
always
you.
fun.
Always a
It's
pleasure.
always
Yes, always. educational.
It's
just
and
wonderful.
you know, if you want to help out for the love of Murphy, help them get that van that they so desperately need, please go to their website, oahs.org. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to our crew, and as always, thanks to you. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.